Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today we're gonna continue the discussion that I wanted to post yesterday, but already the video was too long. So today we're gonna talk about the materials and the medium that we use with orchids. It will be a discussion about how I view the medium and materials and pretty much the advantages of thinking in this manner. Alrighty, so let's get to work. Alrighty, so as you might know, I am experimenting just for the fun of it, but not only with all sorts of different types of inorganic medium. I am in a sort of an inorganic mood, really. I would never go back to organic, so that's what I am experimenting. And of course, there are concerns and certain comments that really focus on what I never actually focus. So let's take the materials themselves that I'm using. Some of us can get hung up a little bit too much on materials and what they are and so on. I personally prefer to focus on effects rather than what type of material this is. We have already established that orchids, being epiphytic and not saprophytes or parasites, obtain nothing from their host. And their host can be a tree or a rock, again in the case of the epiphytic litophyte orchids. So the material itself doesn't really provide any type of nourishment for orchids. It is solely there to provide anchoring. With this in mind, we can easily deduct that the material itself doesn't really matter as far as it provides certain effects. And these effects are the things that interest me the most, and I do believe it is a better way of thinking about things and growing things and experimenting things rather than getting hung up on what that material is. Yes, it's microfiber, it's a kitchen rag. Does it give me the effects that I wanted? Yes, it does. A very important advantage in knowing the effects of a certain material is that you can actually control and customize those effects to obtain something more suited for your particular situation, an orchid, an environment, and all of those things. And I will give you two examples. The first example is from my own experience. A million years ago, I used to think sphagnum moss is a killer, and I could not conceive orchids grown in sphagnum moss. Why? Because I simply didn't think about the effects, and I didn't control the effects. Well, eventually I learned how to think about things, and I learned that sphagnum moss can be controlled if you understand it. And shortly after, I think I was saying in my videos that I would never pot orchids in sphagnum moss. Behold, what am I doing? I'm using sphagnum moss successfully. So the problem was not the material, the sphagnum moss itself. Why would I grow orchids in sphagnum moss when they grow on trees? I should be using bark. It comes from the trees. Well, it makes sense if you don't think about the effects, but when you start to understand the effects, it starts to make sense that life would be a lot more easier with sphagnum moss. Reason why people are using sphagnum moss with success. And P.S. I do have a video on sphagnum moss and how to use it. I'll link it down below. It's a wonderful medium, I have to say. I love it. If I were to go back to organic, I would go to sphagnum moss, not bark. So that's an example from my own experience. And another example, which is not mine, but it's very motivational. I talked a while back about Mr. Hans's medium that he uses for fragmipediums, and not only, which contains house insulation. Yes, aka rock wool. Now, I bet you when Mr. Hans was trying out all sorts of things, trying to obtain certain effects, and he started testing with mineral wool, his community friends might have started to make fun of him. Why on earth would you use house insulation to grow orchids? Isn't bark good enough? Isn't sphagnum good enough? But Mr. Hans had a vision, and he wanted to obtain effects that bark and sphagnum moss could never in a million years give. And this is the fact that the medium doesn't break down. Meaning, no more brutal repottings, no repottings in general unless the orchid outgrows the pot, case in which you just add a bigger pot and more medium, and that's it. And the effect of this effect would be non-setback orchids. Now, what do you think Mr. Hans went on in doing? Well, he perfected his find to obtain certain effects, and the end of the story is that he got to travel the world, win prizes, lots of money, and one car, and now he has his own company, his own medium, and he has beautiful orchids. So there we go. That's the difference between being hung up on what the material is, a kitchen rag or house insulation, and the difference on focusing on effects. What do you want from that medium? And there is a very high chance that if you stay in between certain limits, you'll miss out on a happier life with orchids, an easier life at least. You might miss out on beautiful displays like you see in orchid shows, and if you're in it for the prizes and the fame, you might miss out on the prizes and the fame. So before you get hung up on materials that some people or you might think of using with orchids, try to think about the effect. If tomorrow one of you guys wants to grow orchids in underwear, good for you. If you demonstrate the effect is good for orchids, it provides air, it provides moisture, it avoids layering, it distributes water and air and nutrients evenly, then good for you. Use underwear. Now, apart from being suited due to their effects, materials and setups need to suit you as well as a grower, your lifestyle, your conditions and environment and all of those things. Sure, some setups are viable and for all intents and purposes are very close to how orchids would grow in nature. The problem is some setups can pose great difficulties for some orchid growers. And let's take for example mounted orchids. Yes, we can all agree it is very close to how orchids would grow naturally. But when it comes to us caring for them in this matter, if we don't have external conditions that will help us, such as a greenhouse, higher humidity, an irrigation system perhaps, or at least a hose, things can get quite frustrating pretty bad. And just for the sake of having an orchid like this, we are prone to performing pretty much useless effort. So apart from the effect that certain materials can provide, I believe it's important to make our life easy as well, because if we have the will, the time and the power to care for our orchids, chances are the orchids will be healthier than if we are prone to mistreat them, to neglect them, forget to water them, forget to fertilize them, and so on. So in this case, it's a little bit about choice. Do you want public opinion to be good? Or do you want your orchid and your life to be good and your stress levels down? And also, of course, some setups and materials have advantages over others. For example, theoretically speaking, inorganic will always have an advantage over any organic medium. And I'm now referring here to seramis or leca or microfiber or house insulation. Purely theoretical, something that does not decompose is always more advantageous for you than something that does decompose, because it has different effects. Likewise, a setup that is balanced and provides even aeration, even moisture, even everything is safer and better long-term than something that provides extremes. Extreme drought, extreme water, extreme temperatures, whatever you want extreme. So having this desired effect in mind, we go and choose the materials that can provide this effect, and then start to analyze whatever other effects they might have, and then make a decision whether there are bad effects as well, or the bad effects can be controlled. Bottom line is the effect of the material, not the material itself. I don't care about seramis, I don't care that it's brick. Likewise, I wouldn't care that rock wool is house insulation, nor do I care that microfiber is a kitchen cloth. Does it have the effect that I want to obtain with my orchid? Indeed it does. Can I control it to some extent? Can I avoid other effects? Can I arrange my life so that this material is in the benefit of myself and my orchid? Yes, I can. Details such as my mother has it in the kitchen and wipes stuff with it are absolutely not important for me. Nor is house insulation a problem. Yes, my neighbor has it in his walls. I also have it with my Phragmipedium. Does it work? Absolutely yes. It has the effects that work out for me and my orchid. Other side effects of using these materials that do not affect my life, my orchid, and my stress levels are absolutely not important, and nor should they be for you, actually. So bottom line is, yes, we all love to grow orchids. We love to see the flowers, we love to see the orchid produce roots and leaves and all of that, but there is another side to this hobby that I personally enjoy, and I think many others enjoy as well. The discovery, the understanding, the sense of controlling or performing certain actions to have certain outcomes. And also the problems. How do we fix this bad effect? How do we gain more control? And so on. It's all a game of foreseeing certain stuff, taking actions, seeing results, with the end goal of having beautiful, beautiful orchids. And personally, it is an activity that I really, really like, reason why I make so many experiments. And in the end, who knows, maybe people can benefit from these weird ideas. Alrighty then, so that was it regarding materials. Now you kind of know how I stand. Don't be shocked or surprised if I will try some other things in the future as well. I did get some nice suggestions from you guys. It's at least fun to try out stuff if nothing else. So alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching this video and bearing with me blabbing. If you've enjoyed the discussion, give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, you know the drill. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchids and plants videos, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we're gonna talk more about vandas. Bye! So do you remember the little Tillumnia that Anna sent me? She arrived without roots and very dehydrated. But behold, we have the first sign of life. There is a new growth there that is starting to produce roots. I think this orchid will be okay. So happy because it's a purple Tillumnia and I don't have such a thing in my collection. So there we go, it's gonna take a while, but at least this orchid will be saved.